Welcome to the broadcast booth high above the grandstands, where we will bring you today live coverage of qualifying session number 1. Hello, I'm Tristan Tobin. Down trackside in the pits is Fred Speed, which he and I will be giving you interviews from the drivers during the qualifying broadcast today. So after the drama in Detroit, we are finally back in Delaware, and things are getting heated up quickly as top fuel dragsters are headed to the staging lanes right now. Let's take a quick look about who's where in the top fuel point standings before Q1 session number 1. And here's a look at the top fuel point standings after the race at the Ford 4Y Nationals in Detroit, Michigan, right outside Milan, Michigan, and nearby to the city of Detroit. Now here's a look at the point standings. So far, Tony Schumacher is just 7 points behind the runner-up finisher, Travis Shoemake. And take a look at third and fourth place. Yes, Bob Vandergriff Jr. and Corey McClinton did not make it out of the first round. That is going to be very important in this championship. If they must have a first round win here in Delaware on race day. And you can see down at the bottom, 15th and 16th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, that is trying to get their way into the top 12 by the end of race day. Now, before we race, you must qualify. Take a look at the bottom half of the bracket at the top 10 finishers. And look who's trying to edge their way into the top 10. Clay Milligan and Mike Strasberg, the two old teammates going at it. Clay Milligan coming in with a brand new sponsor. We'll discuss that later on today. Well, we won't be able to try to get caught up with Clay immediately, but apparently, and I'm just getting word that he is unavailable to be interviewed this season. But apparently, Clay Milligan, yes, he will be in a new car after getting that first round win that he had just a month ago at Detroit. Now, Tony Schumacher, well, we already know about the hiatus that he's going through. We'll talk to him later on until we get to that pair. But right now, and I'm just getting word right now that the top fuel cars are in the staging lanes, getting ready for the prep the cars, ready for the burnouts, as the first pair will be Doug Coletta and Scott Coletta, who is 16th and 15th in the points, which is not really successful this season. The Scott Coletta with his 0-2 loss, and Doug Coletta with his 0-1 loss. So apparently, it's not looking so healthy for the top fuel class. And that's the first pair that we will see today. Right now, as they kick off top fuel and they get them all fired up. So now it's time to head trackside to see them in action. And like we said, here comes Scott Coletta and Doug Coletta coming onto the line. Scott coming off a recent performance in Detroit, and Doug Coletta not coming off from a solid weekend in Detroit as well. Here we go. Coletta smokes the tires, Dougie does, And apparently it's going to be a 164 pass for Scott and 183 tire smoking pass for Doug, as Eddie Hill and David Baca Jr. prepare for the burnouts here at as the next pair in qualifying for session number 1. This is going to be a very fast day here at the TRF2000 Dragway as the final race of the season. As Eddie Hill and David Baca Jr. come to the line. Let's see what happens. Oh, David gets close by the center line, and Eddie Hill will get the stripe first, but it doesn't matter. Times matter. 155 to a 162. You're not racing each other, you're racing the clock. As the next pair of Mike Strasburg and Clay Milligan will come to the line right now. Hey guys, this is Fred Speed. I'm down at the far end of the racetrack. It appears that Mike Strasburg's got some sort of problem at the starting line, will not be able to do the burnout, so Clay Milligan is going to go for the bye. You heard from Fred Speed that Clay Milligan will take the bye as Mike Strasburg's got a problem at the starting line, so let's see what happens. Well, nice smooth pass. Let's see what the numbers are. 133 for Clay Milligan. That will put him up in the top spot for now. And we'll see how the rest of the day carries out for not just him, but that Warner Enterprises team. And that's the new sponsor. Warner Enterprises is on his car for this weekend. As you see Mike Strasburg getting towed to the far end of the racetrack. And here comes Cliff Owen, the defending event series champion of this event, series champion. Gary Sells in the first round of qualifying. And Macro Tools sells the Enterprise machine. Here we go. Let's see what the numbers are. 153 for Selzy, 154 by a close margin over Gary Selzy was Krista Baldwin. Krista, the defending event series champion at this track. Where she made her championship success. Next up is Austin Prock in the right lane. Austin Prock, career best third place at Detroit. Not just that, Leah Pruitt made her career best fourth at Detroit in the final round against looks like a good pass. Indeed it was. 134 for Leah Pruitt, 150 for Austin Prock. 134. That was a sliver off the margin between her and Clay Milligan. So obviously she'll stay set. She'll go in second place for now. Next up is Melanie Troxel and Ashley Force. Ashley Force looking to regain some ground here at Delaware. Tire smoking. That's it for Ashley's run. And let's see what the times are. 141 for Melanie and 188 tire smoking run for Ashley Force, which will put her solidly dead last, even though she's gonna have to face Mike Strasburg in the second round of qualifications to try and get her way up towards the field because she's 16 points. Next up is Corey McClellan and Bob Vandergriff Jr. Corey McClellan coming off a bad weekend in Detroit. After these two got first round loss. Whoa, what a sideways move by Corey McClellan. Let's see what the times are. 142 for Bob Vandergriff and 152 for Corey McClellan. And now, since these two have came down the track, that was the second to last pair. The last pair is about ready to come onto the track right now. But first, let's grab an exclusive interview with yours truly and with Tony Schumacher.
All right. I'm here with the points leader after getting that win at Detroit Ford at the Ford 4Y Nationals. Last time out, and is also the man that's being trailed 7 points behind second place Travis Shoemake, the replacement driver for Steve Torrance, Tony Schumacher. Tony, bad news is since 2020 to now, we got the announcement that Hot Wheels Mattel will not be on your car for the 2025 season. But the good news is you will be partnering back up with a long time no see U.S. Army sponsorship, because since 2000 to 2018, with that sponsor, you have had so much success with them throughout your 19-year relationship, and with them in IRL. But in the stop motion drag racing series, how does it make you feel?
Army's bad to the bone, brother. You know, it's a great group of dudes to deal with, man. Like, it's top line, man. There's no better support out there.
Question: since you won last time out in Detroit, that's got to be a big win for you, since all the struggles throughout the past two Delaware East Coast Nationals events. Like, for instance, the round 2 loss in 2020 and semifinal third place runner-up spot back in 2023. Then you go from a solid weekend, which was a round 2 loss at Philadelphia Raceway Park, the season opener. Then the win at Detroit. Now, I'm going to be honest. Are you ready to to claim a championship here in Delaware, or are you not thinking about that right away?
Dude, I can think about each round individually, man. One round at a time, like a machine. None of that stuff matters. At the end, they're going to tell you for the champ. Nice and easy.
Yep, there you go. And by the way, if you all don't recognize this, this was his piston from 2018 that he just sent me years ago.
Thanks, Tony. As the burnouts are about ready to begin for the last pair of top 4, Travis Schumacher and Tony Schumacher is in the car right now. For Tony, look at that! 119 for Tony Schumacher and 130 for Travis Schumacher. That will put him 1-2 automatically. Just like the same time he did at Detroit, the Ford 4Y Nationals qualifying session. Same time, same everything. That's outstanding for Tony. As we take a look at the time sheets for who's where in the qualifying order. So far, Tony Schumacher first, Schumacher second, third is Clay Millican, fourth is Leah Pruitt, and fifth is Melanie Troxel, and sixth, Bob Vandergriff Jr. rounds out the top 6. And then you'll look at the rest of the ladder. Man, that was crucial. And you saw the funny cars coming to the staging lanes. That's the next thing we're going to be heading into right now. And here's a look at, since the funny cars are going to the staging lanes right now, and right away, I should say, let's take a look at the funny car point standings so far. Gary Densham, after that win in Detroit at the Ford 4Y Nationals with that 5-1 loss, he's got bumped himself up to the lead after that race with 75 points. But look who's trailing him by 5 points. Frank Pedregon Jr., who lost in the second round. So that's going to be very good. And look who was the runner-up in third place. John Force, who bumped himself up from 8th to 6th. Or I don't know where he bumped himself from, but comment below if you know or not. But look at the bottom of the bracket, way bottom, from 16th to 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th places. Jerry Tolliver, Raymond Beadle, Robert Hyde, Tim Wilkerson. They will not be here. They are not here this weekend because they are. You have to qualify 12 cars that are only only the top 16 cars are able to qualify for this event and this event only. So, and that will happen next year. And also, by the way, for the qualifying format next year in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock, it will digest of basically having the top 3 or the top 6 get points in qualifying. So that's going to be really, really crucial when the day goes on. But as you take a look at the point standings, John Force, he would have scored 3 points. So that would have been a very good mix-up, to say the least. But for right now, we're only giving the pole sitter a point for this season. So obviously we'll have to fix that by next season in 2025, which is going to be a big schedule, but we'll get to that later on today. So right now, it's time to go downstairs trackside to look at the cars that are going to the starting line right now, and as they fire up the 7,000 horsepower funny cars. As Dean Scusa, it'll be Dean Scusa and Jack Wyatt from Iowa. And Dean Scusa, well, he's dominated this season. Well, not so much over a 1-0-1 loss, but he has been rebounding in the point system, guys, but not really about rebounding that much. So he's got to step it up on race day if he can qualify for race day, that is. But with Jack Wyatt from Iowa, he's got to step up too. 5 points right behind him. Only 1 point behind Dean Scusa. And look at the battle for a three-way tie between 12th and 14th. Bob Gilbertson, Stephen Densham, who had that heavy crash you saw on race day at Philadelphia Raceway Park. And then you got Dale Creasy Jr. Both guys, Gilbertson and Creasy, are from the IHRA. I don't think Stephen Densham knows anything about the IHRA, but you know what? He's here to have fun. We're not here to talk about IHRA. So let's get to the track right now. Jack Wyatt goes again. See what the times are. 1:36 for Dean Scusa and 1:72 pass for the tire smoking Jack Wyatt. Man, that's got to be a frustrating thing. When you turn on the red light, folks, your day is automatically over. Only on race day, but not in qualifying, because red lights don't count. Up next will be Dale Creasy Jr. Indeed it was. 1:30 for Stephen Densham, and he'll go to the top spot for now. As it's a tire smoking run for Dale Creasy Jr. in 1:77. Former IHRA driver and champion. It's going to be a 162 pass for slow pass for Matt Hagan, as it's going to be a 131 pass for Bob Gilbertson. That's going to put him solidly in the field. So 3 cars we've seen in the 130s, and some of them so far is not having a good day. Here comes Ashley Force-Hood. Going toward the field. Some good passes. Indeed it was. And lower laps time for the weekend. How about Ashley Force? 129 pass. Over a 135 for Alexis DeJoria. Great job by that team and Ashley Force-Hood. They will automatically go to the pole. Hopefully. .181 and 183. That didn't look like a healthy run. Looked like they had to do some driving in that car. But man, that did not look healthy, in my opinion. And next up is the last pair before we get our final 2 pairs coming up on the starting line. Pro Stock. 131 to a 142 for Tony and Cruz. Next up, we will have John Force and Gary Selzy coming into the staging lanes. And for right now, let's take a look at the championship implications. And here's a look at the championship implications presented by Speed Channel. Gary Densham, and this is on championship implications for funny car as well, folks. Gary Densham and Frank Pedregon Jr., since they're the they're the 16th and 8th and final pair coming to the line for the 16-car qualifying field for the first session. They'll be the last pair coming out. Has to qualify. They both have to qualify for race day. If they don't qualify for race day, championship hopes are automatically over for one of these two. But if John Force and Gary Selzy has to qualify, if the points leaders suffers both DNQs and a round 1 loss before and on race day to win the championship as a come-from-behind finish to the season. Now, if you all don't know what all that means, for John Force and Gary Selzy, they both have to go 4 rounds farther on race day, or one of them has to be the number 1 qualifier for this weekend to win the race and then win the championship to crown a funny car titleist. If Gary Densham or Frank Pedregon Jr. qualifies for race day, the championship is a wrap for 2024 for one of these two guys right here that are leading the points, and then have back-to-back have 1-1 wins amongst each other. These two have 1 win, so obviously they're looking to rebound from what happened both at Philadelphia and at Detroit. John Force was the runner-up at Detroit. Gary Selzy was the runner-up at Philadelphia. So obviously these two want to take them down. But will it happen? We'll find out. It's a long shot for Force and a long shot for Selzy, where they're at in the points so far. But Frank Pedregon, he's won the now we have 4 champions, and get a kick out of this, folks. We have 4 champions that are at the line right now. Gary Selzy is a 3-time Top Fuel champion and a funny car titleist in 2005 in real life in the IRL series. Then you have John Force, who's won championships all over the United States and all over the world, actually, crowning 16 of them. But he's a 2-time defending event series champion in this series. Then you got Frank Pedregon, who won the U.S. Nationals Championship in 1999 over Jim Epler. Then you have the likes of Gary Densham, 2 U.S. National champions, crowned to be a world champion in the stop-motion ranks. Gary Densham, who won the 2004 U.S. Nationals and claimed the Skull Showdown that year in 2004 over both Eric Medlin and Cruz Pedregon. So, will one of these champions become a world champion? Can John Force go back to back triple world champion in the stop motion ranks? We will have to find out on race day as both Gary Selzy and John Force come to the line right now to do their burnouts. And here comes Gary Selzy and John Force coming to the line. Alright, let's see what happens. Donner Ashley's on the top spot. Let's see if he can get in. Wow, he will get in. 128 pass. Say hi to your new number 1 qualifier in Q1. And a 148 pass for Gary Selzy. Man, oh man, say hi to your new, I think, get out of the way, folks, because John Force Racing is looking strong between these two cars. But next up is a big-time matchup. Frank Pedregon in the left lane, Gary Densham in the right. Coming down the 8th mile. Let's see. 130. Oh, he almost got it, but 130. That could have been a big time 120 something, but apparently it's a 130 for Gary Dencham and 141 for Frank Pendergast, which will put them both solidly in the field for now. That's if they don't screw up their laps on the second session. But look how tight the and look who's got the number 1 spot. John Force. He loves this place. He probably sure loves this place. He wants to get out here number 1 qualifying spot. And look who's down behind him. Ashley Force, Gary Dencham in 3rd place. And look at the tie between 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Gary Dencham with a 130. 130 for Stephen Dencham, his son. Bob Gilbertson in 6th. And then Tony Pedregon rounds out the top 5 spot. That is amazing. Woo! This is going to be a big qualifying session on next day. Next up is Pro Stock. And before we head to the Pro Stock field, let's while we got a moment here, they're already getting the track prep ready for Pro Stock. Only 14 cars on the property this weekend, folks. And I'm just getting word that we're ready for the Pro Stock field to come out. But first, let's take a look at the Pro Stock field of who's in and who's not in. And here's a look at the Pro Stock point standings first of all, before we see the cars come out for their burnouts. So far, the winner from last week, winner from last time out at Detroit Ford 4Y Nationals and Pro Stock, we had Greg Anderson and Kurt Johnson as the runner-up. But look who's behind him. Jed Coughlin Jr., the Philly Cheesesteak Nationals winner, who is 3rd in points, and Tanner Gray right behind it by 1 point, who was the runner-up in the field. Now, basically, there is we also getting word that on race day it will not be these guys will not be qualifying for a top 8 spot. We are qualifying all 12 cars for the field. So only 2 guys or girl, if there is any, I don't think there's any, nope, there's no girls in this class. So obviously only 2 guys will be out. So obviously that is going to be a heartbreaking thing for the Pro Stock category. So obviously, as you can see from the point standings, it would be since Don Nicholson and Bruce Allen are coming to the line, a Ford and a Chevy. So obviously that's going to put a fervor into things if they can try to get into this field. I mean, I don't think they want none of the other Pro Stock guys wants to see these 2 in the field as an underdog contestants, because remember, these guys are battling for a championship, folks, and this is the last race of the season, and this is the finale. So obviously, I mean, what can you expect? But anyway, and I hear Pro Stock cars being started, and apparently out of my window right here underneath the grandstands, folks, as they're ready to do their burnouts. Hey guys, this is Fred Speed down at the far end of the racetrack. It appears that the safety safari came to the starting line to see what the problem is with Don Nicholson's car. It appears that they're surrounding Don Nicholson's car because they said, talked with one of the crew chiefs on that car, and it appears that they have some sort of transmission fluid spilling underneath the car. Thankfully, he didn't do it on the racetrack, so they're gonna skip this run, and so that means Bruce Allen's gonna take the single down the racetrack. Let's see what the times are. 1:66 for that run for Bruce Allen, so that'll put him at the top spot for now in in this first and final qualifying session. And yes, we'll get to that later on when the day progresses. But for right now, we're focusing on this first and final qualifying session for Pro Stock. And yes, they're only running one session. Next up is Jim Yates and Vincent Indeed, it was 161 for Jim Yates and 165 for Vincent Nobile in that Moon Eye Chevy Camaro. 161 for Jim Yates. Man, he was your runner-up here last year. Hopefully, he can put that car in the winner's circle. You never know. Next up, we have Alex Laughlin and Jason Lyne. Sideways. I just shut her off, and apparently Laughlin gets it down the strike first. 173 for Laughlin and 201 for Lyne. But that's going to be a heartbreak for Lyne when he sees those numbers. I think that's going to put him 13th for now, behind Don Nicholson, who didn't make his run earlier. And next up, coming to the line, which should be a big time matchup, Roger Dragway and Rick Chamberlain. Here we go. Roger Brogdon gets down there first. Let's see what the times are. 171 for Brogdon, and Rick Chamberlain's 190 is not going to cut the mustard. So obviously, that's not good for when you're Rick Chamberlain. All right, next up we have Warren Johnson and Larry Morgan. Stripe first, as it's a 2.02 pass for Larry Morgan. That's going to put him, Jason Lyne. That's going to put him in 13th. So obviously both Jason Lyne and Warren Johnson both recorded the same numbers. Now let's head over to our special guest interview with yours truly and Jeggy Coughlin Jr.
All right. I'm here with third place in the point standings, who's 1 point behind Tanner Gray, Jeggy Coughlin Jr. Jeggy, it has been a great stop motion career for you since the Philly Cheesesteak Nationals at Philadelphia Raceway Park, which you got the win at. You got earlier this year, but now you are third in the points and trying to go for your first ever Pro Stock Championship in stop motion history, and have a three-way Pro Stock Championship tie between yourself, Larry Morgan, who got the championship in 2023, and Greg Anderson, who got the championship in 2020. But I gotta ask, does the pressure get to you when you think about championship points, or not necessarily?
Well, it just depends, I guess. I mean, you'd be lying to say the pressure doesn't get to you when it's game time and in the heat of the battle. But that's where you just rely on your experience and your team behind you, and try and put your best effort forward. So that's been my experience on this side end of it, so to speak. And I'm glad to be running for a championship. How's that sound?
Well, that does sound really interesting, to say the least, and incredible, I should say. But obviously, guys, you better be on the threat and better watch out for this guy, because he's going to be a massive threat in this championship battle.
Thank you, Jake. Runouts are going to be completed here in just a few minutes. Jake Coughlin is in the car, Coughlin probably gets a better time. He does. 159. Now put him at the top spot for now. But now we go to our last pair. And then 162 for Tanner Gray as well, which would probably put him in the midfield pack. And next up is Greg Anderson and Kurt Johnson, and the only Ford Thunderbird in the field who got the runner-up spot and back. Greg Anderson. 158 for Greg Anderson. He beats Jed Coughlin Jr. to the spot, saying, "No, you're not taking that pole. I'm taking the pole, sir." And now that is it, folks. That's the end of the first and only qualifying session. That's a wrap. And now let's take a look at the qualifying list for race day. And here's a look at the qualifying list. Greg Anderson is going to put that Summit Ken Black racing car to the top. Jed Coughlin Jr. in second. Third is Kurt Johnson. Tanner Gray will slide into fifth place. And now let's take a look at the qualifying ladder. By the way, you see the Q2 being scribbled down. That means there's going to be no Q2. Just 2 nitro sessions. So let's take a look at the step ladder format for the Pro Stock ladder, I should say. And here it is. This is a big time matchup. Look at the top of the top left hand corner. Greg Anderson and Warren Johnson, a rematch of last year at this track. Ooh, that's going to be a big time matchup, folks. And now Jed Coughlin Jr. against Jason Line, Kurt Johnson against Rick Chamberlain, Jim Yates against Alex Laughlin, Tanner Gray against Roger Brogdon, and Vincent Nobile against Bruce Allen. That should be one heck of a class to watch out for, folks. Coming up next will be only two nitro sessions of Funny Car and Top Fuel, which will be in the next video, of course. So anyway, if you went through the whole thing, folks, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. So obviously, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching the finale of qualifying. Thanks for watching Q1. We'll be back in the next video for Nitro Burning Q2 of Top Fuel and Funny Car. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.